YouTube. I'm officially a mom now. My hair looks crazy. I look so tired. I don't get enough sleep anymore. I don't get to do my hair anymore. I'm getting wrinkles on my forehead. If you are new here, click subscribe. But today I wanted to talk about my birth story. I feel like a lot happened. Right now I'm currently breastfeeding. He fell asleep, so I wanted to record my entire birth process, but the hospital I went to was like, nah, like you can only take pictures. That really sucked. I'm gonna tell you guys how this happened. Hey, if you're seeing this, it probably made it into my labor and delivery vlog. I'm like looking around because Christian's getting Chipotle right now, but basically I have to go to the hospital right now. My blood pressure is a little high. The last couple of appointments it's been a little high. I'm worried about me developing preeclampsia, so if it stays high, they're probably gonna induce me. It all started at the GYN. I had my regular weekly appointment. I was 38 weeks pregnant. The GYN that I was going to at the time is super trash. Like, they're really bad. So, you know, they took my blood pressure, and usually my blood pressure is like really good all the time. But this time it was just slightly high. Like 130 over like 70 or 80. What's up? Hold on. My blood pressure was a little high, and I was just like, that's just a little bit high, like I'm good. And they're like, let me talk to the doctor, because I was seeing a nurse practitioner. Basically she was trash, but the doctor there was even more trash. The doctor was just like, nah, like send her to the hospital, her blood pressure is slightly high. And I was like, whoa, don't you think we're being a little dramatic here? They're like, no, like your blood pressure is slightly high. You know, has it been like this? And I was like, to be honest, you know, when I had my other appointments, I was kind of ranging in the same blood pressure numbers, but nobody like really said anything or did anything. They would just take it again. And they were like, nah, like you gotta go. And I'm like, can I go home first? Like, my dog was at home, I wanted to get food. I was just freaking out. I was like, oh my god. And I was just like, thank god I packed my hospital bag, because I had done it like a couple of days before, and low-key I didn't want to pack it because I was like, why do I feel like when I pack my bag, some shit is gonna turn up and happen? You know what I mean? It always happens like that. We ended up going home. My husband and I got food. We prepared our hospital bag. We walked my dog, got ready to leave. We ended up going to the Presbyterian hospital first, because obviously like I heard way better reviews, and obviously like, I did not want to die. Presbyterian was like, nah, like we're not taking you. And I was like, what? I explained my situation, because basically I had to go to the hospital to get my blood pressure monitored for the day, to see like, oh, is it gonna go down? Is it still staying up? What's going on? Like, I just needed to be monitored. They were like, nah, because you know, if we have to induce you, we're gonna just send you home, because you're not our patient. This is a training hospital with students. I was like, okay, and take me. Like, I started crying, so scared to go to the hospital that they were trying to send me to. The Presbyterian was giving such bad vibes, and I was like, you know what, I need my insurance to cover this. If I'm gonna just be monitored, let me go to the other hospital. Ended up going. In the car ride, I was just like googling all the reviews of the hospital, and I was just crying, because I'm like, yo, I do not want this GYN to pull up here and to deliver my baby. Like, I was crying. He's such a bad doctor. Like, Gregory Schifrin, do not ever go to this man in your life. He is horrible. Horrible. I checked in. They had me change into the hospital gown and stuff. They were monitoring my blood pressure every 15 minutes. They also took a sample of my pee. Everyone in the hospital so far that I had met was so nice. Already off the bat, I was meeting such nice people. They made me feel so comfortable being there. They're making jokes. They're, you know, just creating a good environment. They were even just chill about my husband being there and stuff like that. They're like, if we don't have anyone else in this room right now to also be monitored, we'll bring your husband in. And I was like, thank you. So they kept monitoring my blood pressure, and at one point it went down, but it stayed consistently up. Anyways, they ended up keeping me. They admitted me that day and they continued to monitor my blood pressure. Then they took blood tests. There was so much happening in the hospital. I was there for a couple more hours, and at like 8 days they came back with all their tests and were just like, hey, you are diagnosed with preeclampsia. We advise that you get induced today because at this point the pregnancy is affecting you right now, and it's affecting your liver, it's affecting your kidneys. We don't know how, but it is. Like, you have the option to obviously go. You're like, you don't have to stay here. We're not gonna hold you against your will. But that is not our medical advice. You also have the option of staying here, getting induced, or you have the option of staying here and being put on magnesium 24 hours. And I was like, I want to go home. Okay, I'm not ready to give birth today. It was like 10 days before my due date, and I was scared. I kid you not. I spent like 2-3 hours there contemplating whether I should stay or leave. Like, I was having full-on discussions with these nurses and midwives. I became really good friends. We're just buddies with one of the midwives there. She has my heart. I love her. And she was just like, get induced at the baby because something's going on. Because if it gets worse, you can have a stroke. I was like, what? I had to really think about like what I was gonna do. I was shook. I didn't want to make any impulsive decisions. I wanted to go home, induce myself the natural way. That was my plan. I was literally gonna start trying to induce myself the next day. So they ended up checking me if I was even like dilated, and it turns out I was 2 centimeters dilated when they checked me, 60% effaced, and they could feel his head. I was like, what? Literally the week before that, my GYN had checked me because I forced her to. I was like, please let me know if something's going on, because I was feeling contractions, like I was feeling stuff, but they were making me seem like I was crazy. No, these are just false contractions, just dehydrated, even though I'm drinking a gallon a day, but whatever. She said I was 1 centimeter and closed. When I had told the hospital that, I was like, oh, haha, Gregory Schifrin's office said this, I was 1 centimeter and closed. They were like, what the fuck? How do you say that? How are you 1 centimeters but closed? You should be 0 and closed. They hated that place too. Once they told me they hated the GYN I was going to, and they could not understand why this man is like this. Girl, I stayed at that hospital so fast. I was like, y'all have my heart, because obviously you guys understand what I'm going through to the T. Once I knew all of that was happening, I was like, honestly, I'm gonna go with my gut. Gut is telling me the best decision I can do, even though I don't want to, is to stay here and get induced. Why? Because it doesn't make sense to stay in the hospital for 24 hours. If I'm gonna be in the hospital, I'm going to have this baby. So I stayed. I made that decision 11 p.m. at night. I checked my cervix at like 7 p.m. So literally that's how long it took me to make a decision. Current setup. IV drip. Once I made that decision, I called my mom. My mom's mean. She's really mean. She just started yelling at me for not telling her I was in the hospital sooner. My husband called his parents. They're about to pull up like that moment at like midnight. So there are different ways to get induced, obviously. I was really against Pitocin. I've seen so many videos. Women are like dying from pain because Pitocin is a synthetic drug. It doesn't make you feel good. It makes your contractions like 10 times worse. Like, that was on my birth plan. I do not want to take Pitocin. But they had to find other ways to induce me. The method I ended up going with was the balloon method. They started working on inducing me right away. Before they started that method, they checked again, see how far along I was, and this was 11-12 p.m. and boom, I was 3 centimeters dilated. So things were happening as I was there, and I was like, whoa. They were like, and you are having contractions, not false contractions. You're having them. They're consistent. Obviously it was an active labor, but I was having consistent contractions. The balloon method is basically when you take a balloon, they shove it up your uterus / cervix, they blow it up. That's basically how they get you to become dilated. So I'm in mad pain right now. They put a balloon in me. They started inducing me. I was 3 centimeters before the inducing started. I'm waiting for Christian to come back. But no joke, No joke. I'm in so much pain. I want to throw up. It's supposed to take 12 hours, they said. They were like, when it's done, the balloon's just gonna pop right out. I kid you not. I felt this baby moving the balloon. The balloon method took like 5-6 hours. It did not take that long. It was like 5 a.m. I was 6 centimeters dilated. And they were just like, why didn't the balloon fall out? And I was like, by 4 to 5 o'clock, I was 6 centimeters dilated. So I look like a mess. But they just broke my water at 6 centimeters. The baby's heart rate was like super elevated at one point. That's when they broke my water, which did not hurt at all. That process was pretty cool. I wish I could have seen it. My husband saw it and he said it was like mostly water with like some blood in it. It was just like whoosh, a crazy waterfall. Hey. Hey. You ready?
Take a picture.
You ready?
Yeah.
You ready to be a dad?
Yeah. Are you ready to be a mom?
Maybe. I'm also against like getting an epidural. Not like super against it, but I was scared because who wants to get stabbed in the back? Not me. So I was eating these contractions like a champ. They're like, you're good. You want epidural? I'm like, no. They're like, you're 6 centimeters. Like, you're doing so good. Like, you're really taking these contractions. And I'm like, yep, don't give me that epidural. No. I was at like 5-6 a.m. Mind you, my blood pressure is still being monitored like every 15 minutes. Even started to give me oxygen at a certain point because my baby needed oxygen. I guess there was like a lack of oxygen he was getting in there. Progressively, the contractions, they started turning up. Woo! Started turning up. I was having a really bad time. I started sweating. Like, I was sweating so much. I needed a fan. My fan died. Had no charge. Every time they would give me something to fan myself with, another nurse would come in and just take it and throw it away. Portable was dead. It wasn't charging. Like, that was also there to charge my fan. If my fan was working, it would have probably been a better situation, but it wasn't. So yeah, I could not take the pain anymore. It was like 5 to 8 a.m. and they were like, get rest. You're gonna need the rest when you push him. You're gonna need the energy when you push him. You have to rest. How am I supposed to rest with these contractions? I was in pain. Every time I was trying to get rest, boom, the blood pressure. Every time I was trying to get rest, boom, a contraction. You can't rest. No. So I gave in. At 9 o'clock, I was like, all right, I'll get an epidural, even though I didn't want to. How do I feel about that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Epidural was a 0 out of 10 experience. It's supposed to take 2 to 3 minutes. My epidural took an hour. Why? I wish I could tell you. That was so traumatizing. I think that was the most traumatizing part of this entire thing. I was scared already, and then my husband obviously couldn't be in the room. I had to be hunched over with my pregnant belly with these horrible contractions for an hour. I was cramping up. Everything was hurting. My foot fell asleep, not even because of the epidural, but because of how long I was hunched over for. Because they want you hunched over so they can see your spine, so they can stab it, so they can numb you. The doctor just could not find the spot on my spine. So he was stabbing me a bunch of times. I kid you not, screaming the whole time. He was just stabbing and then injecting it and then stabbing, injecting. He had to call another doctor like 30 minutes later. The doctor was doing something else, so he came like later. Once the next doctor came, he was having trouble finding the right spot for my spine. He was like manhandling me even though I was already in so much pain. Hunched over for so long. I had to like be like, yo, I need a break. I need a break right now. Let me sit up for a second. Like, so inhumane. I had like adorable nurses there that let me like hold on to her shoulders, and then she held on to mine because like you can't move when you get the epidural. Even though I was moving. So dark here. They were holding me down so I wouldn't move, and I was like squeezing her shoulders so tight. But the entire experience was just so painful and it hurt so much, and it was awful. It was really bad. Then the doctor was just like, yeah, you know, it usually takes me quicker than that, but I just couldn't find the spot. I'm like, yo, bye. Like, I really don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, thank you for doing your job, but me alone, please. Like, there was a point in the epidural process where I heard them pop something when they stabbed me, and I was like, please let this procedure go okay. I was so scared. After the epidural though, I felt better. Obviously, I didn't feel a thing. I didn't feel any kind of contractions after that. I think an hour or so later, dilated to 7 centimeters. I was chillaxing. I had to turn the light on because it was so dark in here. The epidural was crazy. After the epidural, since I wasn't moving much, my feet were like balloons. All of the liquid, and if it wasn't for my husband, like, he ended up massaging my feet in the postpartum room, I was able to drain so much liquid because I had the longest, heaviest pee in my life after that. They're normal now, obviously. Would I get it again? I don't know. I honestly cannot tell you. Even my husband, he was just outside for the hour. Like, yo, what happened? Like, he was texting my phone. Like, I could have texted. And I told him everything. He was like, yo, I'm trying to get back in the room. They're like, no, like, you have to go back out and wait. I was like, anyways, so I got the epidural at 9. It took an hour at 10. At 11, I was 7 centimeters dilated now. They were kind of like, all right, this is taking some time. Like, his heart rate kept going up, going down, and it was freaking the nurses out. Like, they kept running in to check his low heart rate. As soon as they would run in, his heart would go back to normal. And they were just like, you drama king. It was just super inconsistent for them. So they ended up putting an actual monitor like on his head. He still has like the little bruise like on his head. It was a better read on his heart rate in the room. I accepted the Pitocin, whatever. So with the epidural, you don't really feel the Pitocin. So if you ever do get Pitocin, you would have to get like an epidural first. You would not feel the contractions after that. So I told them, pace me, don't just like load me up with this Pitocin. Let my body take it slow. And they also wanted to give it to me slowly because of his heart rate. He was like so up and down. They didn't want to just like shock my body or shock him. 8 centimeters and he's almost here. How are you feeling?
Me?
About to be a dad.
What?
You're about to be a dad.
Yeah, I'm excited. Be the best dad ever.
You getting snacks? By 2, like 3 hours later, I was 8 centimeters. I was on epidural. I was numb. I could not move. They had to put a catheter inside me so I can pee, which was crazy because you really cannot feel yourself peeing. You cannot feel yourself needing to pee. Everything is just numb. Like, the nurses had to help move me. And at 5:30, they checked me again. I was fully dilated and 100% of face. And they were like, okay, this is happening. We will start pushing in an hour. An hour. Yeah. So an hour passed, and once like 7 or whatever came, like that hour happened, it was time to push. So all the doctors and nurses came in the room, and I had requested that one midwife that I was talking to the day before birth my baby. She had birthed 8 kids. She done it all at home. She respected my birth plan. She was just so nice. Like, she explained everything so perfectly to me. She was so patient with me. I wanted her to do it. So her and her team, like, I think she stayed even later just so she can do it for me. Her and her team was the best team I've ever had. Well, I've never given birth, but best team to ever have in your life. I don't know what I would have done without them. They read my birth plan. They respected it. They tried to abide by it. They were awesome. They coached me through my pushing. If it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would have pushed properly. They said for a first-time mom pushing, I did a wonderful job. I did not tear the pushing portion of this show. When it came time to push, you know, you have to push like you're gonna take a shit. You have to really push with your butt, to be honest. And that was hard because, you know, you push sometimes when you're pooping and you feel like you're gonna get a hemorrhoid. That's what I felt like. So I had to like remove that thought from my head. I'm like, Jessica, you're not gonna get a hemorrhoid. Jessica, if you poop, it's okay. My baby, I guess, was in distress at some point. He ended up pooping in me. And if you don't know, that's a bad thing because that can cause an infection in the mom. That was a cause of concern. They were like, yo, like, not like you have to push him out like right now. When you're pushing, you're kind of like in a different zone, like in a different world, you know? So it was hard to really like hear people or to like see what was going on outside of you. Like, I was just following the instructions I was being given, but I was in another world. A lot was happening outside of me that I did not realize. But basically, they had to get another doctor to come in. This doctor, I did not like him at all. Every time I had a contraction and I was pushing, obviously it hurts. Like, obviously, I'm trying. But if I pushed wrong for 1 second, the doctor would completely stop to just give me a lecture for like a good minute. And I'm over here having the most intense contractions ever, and he was just lecturing me. I was so angry. Like, are you kidding me, bro? He was getting me so upset. But I guess he was doing it for a purpose because I had to push him out like ASAP, because apparently if I didn't push him out soon, they were gonna send me to a C-section. They wanted to send me to a C-section, but they didn't because of my midwife. She knew I didn't want one. She wanted to avoid that. If I didn't push him out sooner, he would have suffocated in the placenta and I would have like bled out or something. I think that's what they were saying. My baby was literally attached to my placenta. Apparently no one's heard about this, and obviously neither have I, but he was attached to it like a Velcro. So when that doctor had came in, he shoved both of his forearms, all right? This man shoved his whole arms, 2 of them, in me and was just like maneuvering my baby and like ripping him off, I guess, off the placenta. And that's how he was able to deliver my baby. When my baby had came out, the part of his face that was on the placenta had just like a bunch of red marks. And it also makes sense for me because every time I used to go to sonogram, I'd always be like, why is he always hiding his face? Why is he so close to the placenta all the time? Like, he'd just be like, I was like, oh, he must really like cuddling with it or something. He was stuck. See, that's something would warrant a C-section. So I'm glad that I got to avoid that. I pushed him out. I did that. I wanted to see everything through a mirror, but when that was happening and they offered me a mirror, I said, no, I cannot concentrate with what I'm doing and look at the mirror at the same time. When you're pushing, you're like, and then you have to like not put so much focus in your face. You know, you can't grunt, you can't yell, you can't make noise. You just have to focus on pushing down there. It was a lot of concentration. I was in the zone. Like, I had to like be as silent as possible, mind body connection real quick, like focus all of my energy into my ass. And then they had to obviously deliver my placenta afterwards, and they pushed it on your stomach, which also hurts. I got to meet my baby after that, and it was everything that they say, everything that everyone ever says, like, oh, you know, meeting your baby for the first time. Yes it is magical. Yes, honestly, I felt like I known my baby my whole life. When I looked at him, I felt like, wow, I expected to see this face. Like, I know him. It was just the matter of meeting him. Like, hey, you're here now. His face did not surprise me. That was the best part. After I gave birth, apparently I had a low-grade fever and I had the shakes. My fever was like 100. I was trying to tell them I'm okay, but they were like, nah, you're not. So they had to run blood tests on me. They kept me on the Pitocin because the Pitocin could keep contracting my uterus so it can like not get blood clots or hemorrhaging. And then they put me on IVs and stuff like that. My blood pressure was still very high, so they also ended up putting me on liquid magnesium for 24 hours. With liquid magnesium, you cannot walk or move. It was like another shit show. Oh my god, it was like shit show after shit show. When they did that, they were like, we have to put a catheter in you, and I was like, no, please, I just pushed out a baby. They were just like, okay, so if you need to pee in a bedpan. I was peeing so frequently to the point where my bladder was getting so full I couldn't even tell if I needed to pee. My bladder was so relaxed, I couldn't pee properly all the way. I would have to angle myself to pee. I had to poop, and this nurse was just like, I'm gonna take you off and you're gonna go to the bathroom yourself. I was like, ma'am, what? I got up, I just started peeing everywhere on the floor because I could not hold it. I didn't know why I couldn't hold it. I just know it was coming out of me like crazy. The nurse was yelling at me. She was like, oh my god, why are you peeing everywhere? This is not what we do. We do not pee on floors here. I was like, Oh my god, it's not like I wanted to pee here. This is embarrassing. What the fuck? Continued using the bedpan. Another nurse came in and saw me using the bedpan weird. She was like, why are you peeing like that? And I was like, because I can't fully pee properly. She pushes down on my bladder and emptied out my whole bladder. So apparently I had a bunch of pee in me. If I would have kept it up, I would have gotten an infection in my kidney. The magnesium had me so relaxed, so they had no choice but to put me on a catheter. And I was like, fine. Like, that was insane. I don't want to get an infection. Little did I know, I already had one. Thank God for my husband, because I couldn't get out of bed. He was helping take care of the baby a lot. I needed that. They said with the magnesium you would get more sleepy. So at the ending of the 24 hours, I was out of it. I was off the mags. I was hella loopy. Aside from doing that, we also had to take care of the baby. We had to feed him. I was breastfeeding him. Obviously, I wasn't making enough milk at the time. We were doing our best. Like, they kept testing his sugar levels, because I also had gestational diabetes during my pregnancy. So they had to keep checking his sugar. They were checking mine like once or twice. Not a lot. They were checking his though to see if his was like stable. His sugar was dropping so low. 60, 20. When it did that, they were like, nah, we have to take him to NICU. And I was like, NICU? Are you kidding me right now? They're like, yeah, we gotta take him to NICU. We gotta take him. I'm like, no, like, hold up, wait a minute. Can we try formula or something? So we can see like if it's working for him. You know, maybe he's not getting enough food off of me. Maybe he needs like something else. Then they started blaming me. They were like, but you said you didn't want to put him on formula. It was on your birth plan. Okay. First of all, no one talked to me to suggest like, oh, let's try formula with him and let's see if that helps his blood sugar. No one said that. And two, a lot of things were on my birth plan and I compromised with a lot. When you hear about NICU and you see it on the TV, it's crazy. Like, take your baby away from you. They will go to NICU, take babies. And why would anybody want that as a new mom? I was just like, look, hey, just give him a chance. If not, I get it. His sugar went up and then it went right down. When that happened, they had to take him and I was like, I get it. And what I liked about this hospital's NICU was that you weren't the parent, you're not allowed in. Not just anybody can go visit the baby, which I love. Like, my mom and sister were trying to go in the NICU and I'm like, for what? Like, he is healing right now. Around that time, they took him to NICU. They discharged me from the labor and delivery room and moved me to postpartum care. And that room was closer to the NICU room. They told me that I can come visit the baby whenever I want, and I did. Okay, especially to feed. They encourage breastfeeding at the hospital. They're like, 2-3 hours, come feed him. Like, his next feeding is this time, come. So I did. Basically, he had to be hooked up to an IV, given sugar so that it can help stabilize his sugar, because since he's not getting it from me anymore, he has to find a way to regulate his body on his own in the outside world. That's what was happening to him. You know, it ranges with babies, like how long it takes for them to feel better. It takes a day, sometimes it takes a couple of days. My baby's strong, okay? He took 12 hours. That problem was fixed. And in the meantime, I was on mad antibiotics. Doctors were still trying to figure out what was wrong with me. So I was still being treated. They had to escalate my blood tests to the infection specialist department. I caught an infection during labor. It was either when they were putting the catheter in me, it could have been when he pooped in me, it could have been when this man's forearms were in me. I caught E. coli. It was in my blood. I had to be on very strong antibiotics for like a week. We all stayed in the hospital for a week. They were giving me just a bunch of antibiotics at first so it can fight whatever was in me. I just knew I had an infection. Once they found out what bacteria was in me, that's when they were giving me specific antibiotics. So I was getting like really frustrated about being in the hospital for so long. Nobody was really explaining anything to me. They were just like giving me antibiotics but not telling me what for. Then one doctor would tell me one thing, another doctor would tell me something else. One doctor would be like, wait for the infection specialist to come talk to you. She came to talk to me and she was like, yeah, you can go home with oral antibiotic. Another doctor would be like, no, you have to stay and do the treatment here. So I was getting irritated because I'm like, all right, what's really happening? I want to go home. Like, I want to spend time with my baby. I want to spend time as a family. The day I got discharged, the doctor during that shift was just like, yeah, go home. So it really depended on the doctor for the shift, which was annoying. At the same time, they're still monitoring my blood pressure. Ended up putting me on blood pressure medication. My blood pressure never went down. For my gestational diabetes, it's done. I don't have that issue anymore. Really, even the nurses were confused and thought that I was only there because of my blood pressure, and they're like, you have to relax when we take your blood pressure. Like, they were really trying to help me out over there. They wanted me to go home just as bad as I wanted to go home. Honestly, I ended up making friends with everybody in the hospital that was taking care of me. They were like hugging me goodbye. And to top it off, I was highly stressed about being in the hospital. And then when they put me into the postpartum room, I haven't showered in like 5 days. I was angry. I'm like asking the nurses about it. They're like, the water doesn't work. Oh, just run it for a while and then it'll work. I shit you not, we ran it for 2 hours and that shit was cold. I reported it again the next day and it started working. So I took a shower. What topped it off was the day we were getting discharged. That morning, we have a Ring camera on our door. Tell me why someone tried breaking in. Tell me. Tell me why someone tried breaking in. We couldn't just catch a break. Now, as much as I wanted to go home all week, I was scared to go home. And I was like, you know what, maybe being in the hospital ain't so bad. That was crazy. He didn't get in. Thank God he left because I went live on the camera. Just ran away. So we went home and then everyone just started bombarding us and coming over. I was still trying to heal. Like, I'm bleeding, I'm healing, my blood pressure is high, I have the shakes still. No fucks about how I felt about anything. Just wanted to see the baby, the baby, the baby, the baby, the baby, the baby. And I was just like, other than that, we're feeling good. We're feeling better than ever. I'm healing. I have my 6-week appointment coming up. That should be fun. I did not tear. Annoying that I can't work out still, especially since I didn't tear. The only pain I had was butt pain. It felt like my butt was the one that gave birth. It felt super stretched out and weird. I think that's how my story went. If there's any specific questions, definitely comment, ask, I'll answer. It was a journey. And they're right when they say I won't remember the pain. I remember the pain that week. I remember the pain the next week, but the 3rd and 4th week, I don't remember any of it. I would do it again, I guess. You just don't remember. I just like, whoop. And then you have this little, you know, adorable munchkin to take care of that's screaming all day, all night, through diaper changes, through clothing changes, through bath time, and you're a mom. So thank you for tuning into my birth story. Everything could have gone way worse. I'm counting my blessings and thanking God that everything went according to plan. Everything happened for a reason. Everything happened in a good way. I'm alive, he's alive, we're both healthy. That's what matters the most. Honestly, it worked out and I'm not mad about anything that happened. I'm blessed that we're okay, healthy, and alive. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.